Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's a big day here at PAC 14. It's our favorite week of the year. We have our superintendent of schools back in the house to explain what's going to happen this school year. Dr. Donna Hanlin, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So I understand you've probably been busy lately.
Just a bit.
You've got 14,500 kids about to get on buses and come to your house for 9 months, however long it lasts.
Yes, 180 school days.
Yes.
Yeah, but closer to 15,000 actually. So yes, they're coming soon. We are starting with our all of our back to school events. We have just today met with administrators for their back to school breakfast, and tomorrow I have an opportunity to speak to new teachers. 112, 119 new teachers?
We're
up to about 120.
120 new teachers this year.
120 new staff.
Right, staff members.
Yes. And so it's an exciting time. Next week we have our back to school kickoff next Thursday at the Civic Center.
And that's a great rally.
Tradition. It is.
Which you learned from that first year where you had it outdoors.
Yes.
Now you have it indoors.
Now we have it indoors where it's a bit cooler. Everyone appreciates that. Well, we were really excited this year. We have Ron Clark. I don't know if you're familiar with Ron Clark, who's considered America's educator, who is coming to be our keynote speaker. A big push from the Wicomico County Education Foundation and other community organizations that got behind this idea and believe it's important to bring the best to speak to Wicomico teachers about the great things that can be happening in classrooms and should be happening in classrooms, and to get us inspired for the school year. So we're very excited about Mr. Clark coming.
Just let me make a quick point on that. The
Sure.
Wicomico County Education Foundation was something that did not exist until you came here.
Right.
And it's not like you drove it. People
Right.
they believed in you and they wanted to support what you were doing. But it's a testament to you, I think.
Well, I appreciate that. Those conversations were being had between the Chamber and the Greater Salisbury Committee prior to my arrival, but they asked upon my arrival how I felt about it, and of course I fully support that. And just the community support for what we're doing in our schools through the Education Foundation has been wonderful.
So with the new teachers, new staff members, it's important for you to make a good impression to them, because when people have a new job, that's the most delicate time, and you want these people to stay.
We want them to stay. So yes, that's one of our 3 priorities of Imagine 2022. You'll recall it's priority 3 in no particular order, but we believe in focusing on recruiting and retaining a high-performing workforce, and we're making great progress in that area. Actually, we don't have such an issue necessarily with recruiting, but retention. When I first came, we measure that by looking at an average cohort over 3 years in their first year of teaching, and what percentage of those teachers leave in that first 3 years. And we were over 20% in the 16-17 school year. And last year we finished the next cohort of teachers and we're down to closer to 14%, which is, so we've reached our goal in that area. But
Right.
It's really, really important that we establish close relationships with them, give them the supports that they need in the classroom, and make sure that they have the social networking opportunities that are important for young folks, important for all of us.
And that's the key. It's not all just about the money. It's about the work
isn't.
environment and the
That's
ability
correct.
to succeed in your job.
Yes. So we're very focused on that. Real pleased with that. So I'm looking forward to meeting with about 120 new individuals. Some not new to teaching. It typically is about 50-50, but we'll learn that tomorrow. I'll go through a series of questions to learn about them as a cohort tomorrow, and try to give them some inspirational thoughts before they hit the classroom for the first day.
That's really exciting. Do you remember back when you were a brand new teacher?
I remember it clearly in this county.
Yeah.
In this county, and Harold Fulton
I was gonna say,
was the superintendent
it was
of
Mr.
schools
Fulton
at the
at that
time.
point.
And I remember him talking about the importance of loving what you do and looking forward to going to work every day. In fact, my father used to talk about that with me. And so I think that's really important that they love what they do. And I think to be a teacher, you're passionate about what you do. So.
Is it easier for you having been a teacher the way you were in your job because you understand other people's jobs?
I think so. I think so. Having been in the classroom,
Yeah.
experienced it. Now, granted, children, students, what we expect in classrooms is different than it was 40 years ago.
Right.
But I think having had that experience and visiting classrooms now, being in the schools and visiting classrooms is very, very important so that I have some understanding of where they're coming from.
Yeah, I can only imagine what it's like for you, because for me, I remember obviously being a student, but I was actually closer to the process as a parent. I mean, I was much more aware of everything that was going on in the school when I was a parent than I ever was when I was a student. And now you, as a superintendent, you are highly aware on all angles of it.
Try to be. Try to be, yes.
It feels like you've got a good staff, you've got people that you're really comfortable with, and you seem to trust them and let them do their jobs.
Mm-hmm. We do. We have a great staff. We have a new Chief Finance and Operations Officer for the coming year, and as you know, Bruce Ford, who'd been with the school system for a very long time, retired. Micah Stauffer has now assumed those responsibilities and is, as I like to say, he's hit the ground running and doing a great job. So yes, I have a good team that's very close to me, and then an executive leadership team that each have great expertise in their areas, and we all support one another. We believe in the team. So.
You have not all new principals, but a lot of new principals in place. I was reading that list. It's quite an extensive list. New people with new responsibilities.
We do. We every spring we start to do that planning, and for the most part, we're not moving people. It's because we have retirements. When we have a retirement, for instance, in a big school, we're not going to put a brand new principal in a large school, so there's sometimes transitions, and it always ends up being more people who are moved than we anticipate. But we're very careful about looking at the composition of those teams of administrators to make sure that they're a solid team to meet the needs of their students in their particular school.
Your building and planning people are excellent. Work with them a lot.
Yes.
Liza Ashby over there, really enjoy working with her and understanding what's next on the list, on the punch list for the school system. Many projects occurred over the summer here.
We had a lot go on in the summer, in addition to all the hiring and the summer school programs that go on for students. We did accomplish quite a bit. We finished the project at Parkside, and was talking with the principal there this morning, who's talking about the last stages of moving things out and helping teachers move back into their areas.
And that wasn't an exciting project. It was an HVAC
It was yes, it was a multiple systemic projects, but we're seeing when people are inside the school, they'll see some pretty amazing
but work that needed to be done. Not glamorous stuff, but stuff that needed to be done.
Not necessarily glamorous, but I think that they'll see some other cosmetic things that occurred as well. We're finishing up Del Mar, and those, again, systemic projects that occurred with a few cosmetic. But in both of those schools, we were able to close in classrooms that were the traditional open space classrooms, which is going to be a great help to instruction and teachers teaching in their own individual classrooms.
Yeah, they've been in portables up there for a while.
They have. Yeah. They have. A lot of other things around the county in terms of construction. We've been really working hard on building secure vestibules in our schools. We're down to one or two, I believe, that have not yet been completed, but we finished the new office space and secure vestibule at Pinehurst as well this summer. And a few other schools. A lot of work on gymnasiums with painting. All the floors were done. Roofing projects, just lots and lots of things that are going on. Y Middle, we redid those tennis courts as well as the track around the property. It just really looks nice.
Yeah.
So you're right. Both both our planning and construction team as well as our facilities team under Bob Souza have been very hard at work this summer.
The thing I was most excited about was the new lights at County Stadium.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that for football this year.
Yes. We're excited about that too. That had been in the budget for a few years, and we finally were able to make it happen. So, or had been in the budget requests for a few years. So
and
we
the
were able to
auditorium
make that
repairs
happen.
also at
Yes,
Y High.
at Y High.
Yes.
And again at Parkside, and yes, we could probably keep thinking of all the things that went on this summer. But I think the school families will be very pleased with those completed projects in their schools.
Mardella has the gym improvements plus the new track. So there's stuff out there.
Yes, that was completed.
There was some news this spring with Mardella, with the future, whether to build a new school and all that.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. We're moving slowly but surely on that project. We had funding from the county to be able to complete what's called an EdSpec, which is what the process within the capital process to make sure that it gets in the queue for state funding. So that should be completed sometime around probably before the first of the year. And then we'll move forward with trying to get that, or at least be in the queue for state funding. And we're moving forward with Beaver Run.
Beaver Run is really
timetable.
Exciting. I've actually dug into those plans a little bit and looked at that.
Yes.
And
it's going to be
I
a
can't
wonderful
wait.
school.
I'm actually excited for them.
Yes. Been a lot of community involvement in looking at the design of the school. And so we are also very excited and looking forward to receiving the funding to make that happen.
You mentioned security, and that's the number one thing I hear from parents. They want to know more about school security. The vestibules doesn't sound like a lot, but that's really significant in terms of keeping that security at that entrance point.
Monitoring those individuals who are coming in to a school on their first entrance into the school, making sure they're signing in through our Raptor system, which is a sign-in software system, and so that we know who's in our buildings, and so that is significant. And we're continuing to look at facility issues in terms of safety, but also we have, and it's not specific to safety, but it reminds me of it. And in our strategic plan for this coming year, we've put a lot of focus on addressing students' social, emotional, and behavioral needs. So it does touch on safety to some extent, but students are coming to us with a variety of complex issues, and we want to make sure that we can support them in our schools, and that's what we were hearing loud and clear from teachers and from parents about the need to make sure that we had the appropriate resources. So that's part of our plan for the coming year. We have additional social workers, additional guidance counselors, additional school psychologists, and we have homeschool liaisons. We're adding to those hall monitors, or trying to remember what we call them, but individuals who that is their responsibility to be in the halls and make sure students are where they're supposed to be. So we're really looking at multiple tiered approach to making sure our schools are safe and that students are supported in their emotional needs.
One of my frustrations is the telephone line in this stuff. I see what you're doing, and then I run and tell people what you're doing, basically, try to simplify it to a degree. But people don't understand the big picture. So they'll say to me, why do we spend so much money on psychologists and social workers? We just need more discipline in the schools. Well, don't you understand that these people counsel these kids that are in need and in trouble, and it prevents a problem later? People don't seem to make that connection.
Right.
Is that frustrating for you?
It is.
You see that?
It is, and so that's part of what we try to communicate. That's we have, as you know, have an excellent communications team between Paul Butler and Tracy Saylor, and then my being out in the community and talking to individuals, talking at State of the Schools, and making our efforts in Imagine 2022 as transparent and public as possible, so that we can not only explain what we're doing, but why we're doing it. And students today, children today, come to us with, as I said, many complex issues, and we want to meet them where they are and make sure that they are ready to learn.
Right. And it's not just, people say they just need to give them tough love.
Right.
What does that even mean?
Yeah. It's a balance.
I mean, I give it to my kids, but if I'm a teacher, I'm not going to give tough love to a kid in the classroom.
Right.
I don't think it equates the same way.
Yeah. Well, It's, it's like I said, it is a balance between making sure that students understand what the expectations are, supporting them to make sure they can meet those expectations. And then if they're not complying, if they're not following the code of conduct, then there's a disciplinary response. And hopefully students learn from that disciplinary response. So.
And that stuff all lands on your desk, that discipline stuff.
Some of it.
And I remember talking to Mr. Middleton about this years ago. And I was like, I'm sure you love it when you can throw a kid out of school. And he's like, no, it breaks my heart. It's the worst. It's a failure on all ends.
That's exactly right.
What is that like?
It's very challenging because we don't want any student to be excluded from school, much less expelled from school, even suspended from school. We want students in classrooms learning. And Mr. Middleton was exactly right, one of my mentors. We want to make sure that all of our students are in school, and it does break your heart when you have to take that step that you're just saying, you know what, we can no longer meet your needs, or the safety of other students is at risk, and we need to take this course of action with you.
Donna Fitzgerald, the president of the school board, has departed briefly while he's having a medical procedure. Mm-hmm. You seem to work really well with this elected school board. There was a lot of discussion about how that might go.
We have a very engaged board. We, at our administrator breakfast this morning, all 7 were there, which is great. Yeah. Interacting with the leaders of our school system, which is very important. They ask a lot of questions, which is great.
And I will say they appear to me to be thoughtful.
Yes, they are.
Like they get the big picture to a degree.
They're very supportive of my efforts, and we have great conversations about the direction of the school system. And yes, we're going to miss Mr. Fitzgerald for hopefully a short period of time. His surgery is scheduled for the beginning of October, so he was actually there this morning. He's still, I think, anxiously awaiting surgery, and then he'll return. So he may. We're all hopeful that he will just miss one board meeting, and of course, Gene Malone is the vice chair, and he will assume those responsibilities during Don's absence.
And Mr. Fitzgerald, not last year, the year before, I was at a lacrosse practice and it was like 40 degrees and I was like, what am I doing here? And there was this solitary figure over on the softball field with a wheelbarrow doing something. I was like, who in the world is that guy? Why is Dr. Hanlin sending someone out to work on the softball field in March? It's freezing. It was Mr. Fitzgerald out there. His daughter was a coach, and he was working on the field.
Yes, he loves taking care of the fields. Yeah. I think we probably all have our own. Obviously, we have our own areas of passion, and also have our own things that we do that's stress relief to some extent. Yeah. But yes, he loves being on the fields, and he does a wonderful job with that.
And a great advocate for education for the kids.
Absolutely.
And doesn't hesitate to let the county executive know how he's feeling.
That's correct. That's correct.
My friend Grace Murdoch has been involved with you all with the kindness thing. Yes. To some people it sounds silly, but I have watched this and it works.
It does work. And Grace is a great partner with the school system. And we were really pleased that as the Salisbury community, the Wicomico County community has made these efforts to become a World Kindness USA city, we were happy to be on board because I think it's important for our students to be a part of that and to understand the importance of kindness. Like you said, that makes it sound so soft and
right.
But it's really just about treating people with respect. And
it's the whole golden rule
people.
thing.
It is. So we're really, the board's on board with that,
right.
With a kindness proclamation about how we're going to support this whole initiative. And so we're really pleased to be able to do that.
Your 2022 plan, your Imagine plan, has gotten a lot of traction. People seem to understand it. You've got goals that can be measured. Mm-hmm. Tell me where you want to go next with this.
Well, we're continuing the momentum with the same 3 strategic priorities. I mentioned the recruiting and retaining a high-performing workforce and the progress that we're making in that area. The second priority has to do with increasing graduation rate, making sure that students who enter our high schools in grade 9 graduate 4 years later. We're making steady progress, probably not as fast progress as I'd like to make in that area, but we'll continue to be at that work because it's important. And a lot of that work this year has to do with the efforts in social and emotional approaches to support students. But we also are continuing to look at avenues for students where they're going to be engaged in instruction, where we have added another computer lab for online learning because, as I've said before, there are some students who just don't fit the mold of a traditional school day, and so if we can provide opportunities for students to learn online, that's great. We're actually moving Evening High School and expanding it. We're moving it over to the big portable complex at Parkside where that was the swing space during the construction. So we're excited about moving it there from Y-High there and being able to expand it some. And we have our second group of students at Salisbury Middle in the Next Gen Academy.
That's exciting. I know you're excited about
is.
these specialty
Yes,
curriculums.
I am. And because I think that students have areas of interest. It doesn't mean that they're locking into a career pathway in middle or even early in high school or high school at all. But at least we should be giving them opportunities to explore different areas. And so that's definitely one of them. And you know, a big one for me is exploring the arts. And
Right.
we are continuing to study the creation of a performing arts high school here in Wicomico County. We completed our ed spec in that area. We're now looking at funding strategies that might be a little outside the box for doing that. So we're moving along in that area. And then in terms of Imagine 2022, probably the first priority, and again in no order, but just the way they're listed in the plan, is making sure that students are entering school ready to learn, and that's the whole initiative with Universal Pre-Kindergarten. We are adding classrooms. We're adding 5 classrooms for pre-K in the coming year, and actually expanding quite a bit the number of seats for students who are full-time. So some of the expansion of pre-K is actually taking students or taking opportunities that were half-day before to be full day. So we're going from 480 seats to, I believe it's 620 full day spots for students in pre-kindergarten, because we believe that we need to reach those students early to create that solid foundation. And the other thing that's really, that we're really focused on this year in terms of that priority has to do with working with local pre-K programs to make sure that we're working with them. Parents are not always going to choose to send their children to us for pre-K, and we understand that. It's not a monopoly, as I've said before. So we want to work with those daycare providers or pre-kindergarten programs to make sure that they understand what the expectations are when they enter kindergarten, and inviting them to our own professional development, working with them in those ways. So we're just continuing, as I've said, with the momentum.
Well, one of the things I've heard you say before, it's about giving kids opportunities, and this is another opportunity.
It is. It is. Giving kids and families opportunities. So far we're making good progress with Imagine 2022, and we will stay the course. I do believe that, and I'm so appreciative of the county providing funding for us to support Imagine 2022. And I believe that's because we have a specific plan that they understand.
And we've talked about that because there was like a big brick wall about that whole idea when you first brought it up, and somehow you wore them down. And I think it's probably the examination in leadership, as you know, something I study really closely, to get people to understand what the problem was and to realize there was a solution that you could provide.
Yeah. And again, explaining the why.
Yeah.
Educating people about why different initiatives are so important, including building that solid foundation for pre-kindergarten students.
Another thing we're doing in September is the Wicomico Goes
Yes.
Purple. I know the school system is very involved in that.
Very involved.
I'm going to run a series of stories in the paper about the opioid crisis, the problem in our community. My son just lost one of his best friends last week. This awful situation, 22-year-old woman who overdosed. And I'm sure you see this all the time and you want to do something about it.
It is about awareness. And so yes, not only are we providing curriculum in our classrooms as far down as elementary school that starts to increase the awareness of the dangers of opioids with students, but we're part of the Go Purple initiative to increase awareness across our community, where through grant money we have purchased Go Purple t-shirts for Wicomico County Public Schools employees, and we will be all in purple for the kickoff.
Excellent.
Just that great visual of support for that. But we also, and we started this last spring, through grant money that came through the efforts, a larger effort in association with the health department. We have hired someone who's overseeing all of these initiatives in our schools, but primarily, or one of the big things that she's doing, is working with schools and students where we have Go Purple clubs. So another student organization in our schools, not just in our high schools, but across the board, where students can learn about and be part of these initiatives to combat this epidemic.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that gets people thinking and keeps them aware.
Yes.
Awareness is really important. Like
It is.
with this woman, the situation was she'd had problems, she had powered through it, and we were all like, okay, she's fine, and everyone just sort of forgot.
Right.
But you've got
Yeah.
to stay aware. You have to stay on
Right.
top of it.
Right. We do. And I'm part of the opioid task force in the county, and so I have the opportunity to interact with all of the agencies who are part of this initiative, and I do believe we're making progress in our community. It's not where we want to be. It isn't anywhere in Maryland, probably, or in the country where we want to be, but I believe with the focus and the initiatives that Lori Brewster is leading, we're making a difference.
Well, I sure hope you have a great school year.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's so many positive stories that get told, and that's what I love about your communications department, reminding me the positive stuff, and because it's out there. The test scores are good, the graduation success stories, the scholarship money. There's just so many positive things that go on that don't get told in the same way as the negative things, and it's just a shame. And I'm guilty of that. I need to make sure that I
appreciate
promote
what you do
that everyone
to
knows
get
the
the word
positive
out.
stuff that's going on, because it
Thank you.
really is a great school system, and
Thank
we're
you.
really lucky.
Thank
But
you.
it's up to you to maintain that. So.
It is. We're all working hard.
How can people get a hold of you and let you know what they're thinking?
Sure. Well, they can certainly call my office, and we'll do the best we can to either meet with or a member of my staff in that particular area, depending on what it is they want to talk about. I have monthly superintendent open door meetings that are publicized, and the dates are on our website. Certainly going through our website. There's a link that you can click on to communicate with us. So there's lots of different ways, and we want to hear from individuals. We'd much rather have that happen than have individuals who have concerns who are posting on social media with things that may or may not be accurate. So we just ask that get the facts. Call us, talk to us.
And it's a great website, very transparent, it's easy to use, and all the meetings now are online, or broadcast on PAC 14.
That's exactly right.
So people can know what's going on in the school board. And it's a very organized meeting, and always very informative.
Well, good, yes. Thank
So are you excited to get the school year started?
I am. There's always excitement, ever since I was a student, I loved the first day of school, and that continues. But we're all excited to see the yellow school buses running and get started in classrooms and continue with the momentum and the progress that we're making in the school system. Really excited about the kickoff. I think that's going to get everyone ultra inspired for doing the right thing for students, engaging with high expectations. So.
She's Dr. Donna Hanlin. She's our superintendent of schools in Wicomico County. We're thrilled that she had time to come by today. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper. Another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.